welcome back to my channel for another pregnancy update. I feel like it's been forever since I've updated you guys on this pregnancy. It has been a pretty crazy couple weeks. If you guys did watch my previous pregnancy updates, you know that I was going through a little bit of some emotional stuff as well as some physical symptoms of pregnancy as well. I did end up going to the hospital, which I will talk about in just a little bit, but I did want to let you guys know that I'm here and I'm fine and baby girl is still doing really good. So thank you all for the sweet comments and all of the support along the way. Alright, so starting off by talking about baby girl and using the Bump app as usual, it says that the baby should be the size of a squash, which is getting pretty big. I think they go to the size of a melon, so a squash is pretty big. It also says that baby's getting ready for his or her descent and is likely in the head down position, which is accurate for me. I did do an ultrasound when I was at the hospital and she was in fact head down, which is always good at this age, especially when they're getting bigger. You want to make sure that they're in the optimal position for birth. It also says that she is probably feeling a lot more cramped right now, and I am as well. My stomach is huge. There doesn't seem to be any room in there. I'm like short of breath. I can barely move. All of the dramatic stuff. As for weight, it says that the average 32-weeker is about 2.5 to 3.8 pounds, which is entirely wrong for me. I know that ultrasounds aren't 100% accurate, but the technician told me that baby girl at 32 weeks weighed 4.4 pounds, which is crazy. I had a 6-pound baby and a 7-pound baby, and I know she's packing on about half a pound a week at this point, but 4.4 pounds already seems to be like completely off the charts, but I guess that is just what it is. It also said in terms of length, anywhere between 15.2 and 16.7 inches, and she is just a little bit over the 16.7 inches, so she is definitely big and tall and just striving really well, which is so exciting. Alright, so now that we're done with baby stats, let's talk about my symptoms, everything that has happened this week and why I ended up in the hospital. I know I say this with a smile on my face. It's just because I'm so thankful and so grateful that everything is fine right now and that I'm feeling good. So as for symptoms, I mentioned I am so short of breath. I feel like she is sitting right up into my rib cage. Sometimes I'm like even pushing her down. She is definitely taking loads of room in there. If I'm walking up the stairs with my 30-pound toddler or a laundry basket, I definitely feel winded. When I'm sleeping at night, if I'm too far onto my back instead of my side, I definitely feel like my lungs are being suppressed as well. So I definitely try and prop myself up onto my sides with all kinds of pillows and stuff. Thank goodness that we ended up getting a king-size bed, because that has definitely helped give us a little bit more room to sleep comfortably in bed. I have also been feeling an increase in Braxton Hicks contractions as well as some cramps in the lower abdominal area. I think that that is just part of having a third pregnancy, moving along further in your pregnancy. Those are all really good signs, but I know for those of you who are first-time moms, even those of you who are not first-time moms, having these cramps can be a little bit worrisome, a little bit stressful. You really don't know what you're expecting. You don't know what you're feeling. You might think it's early labor, preterm labor. Do whatever in your heart is going to work for you. Go see a doctor if you're concerned. You know, I Google way too much. I spend way too much time Googling things, and it's probably not the greatest idea, but I do. And as a third-time mom this time around, I know that I know what real labor feels like. I know that this is not real labor. I obviously know that if things progress and they become unbearably painful, then I will go into hospital to get checked. But I know that this is not real labor, so it doesn't concern me. With the added weight on my stomach and those Braxton Hicks contractions, I'm also feeling some pain in my lower back. That again is super common at the end of your pregnancy. That and then like pain in your hips, because your hips are stretching out to allow the baby to flow through. And I know that I can do that because I've had 2 successful all-natural vaginal deliveries before. That is a mouthful to say. I am just so excited to be moving along in this pregnancy, and I know that it's getting closer and closer. It still seems so far away. When people are like, oh, it's still 2 months away, I'm like, oh my god, I still have 2 months. But then I think I'm like 32 weeks, and a few days ago I felt like I was only like 30 weeks, and I remember yesterday I was like 28 weeks is what it feels like, and I've got nothing done So I'm praying that she stays in there a little bit longer so that I can finalize all of the stuff. I don't have a crib for her. I know she doesn't need a crib right away. She doesn't have a name yet, but that will come as well. Bouncing back into symptoms because I'm all over the place. I talked about Braxton Hicks, back pain, shortness of breath. I do have some headaches. Again, I know that that's super common. I did tell you guys that I had a scare about preeclampsia because I was dizzy, headaches, blurry vision, all of the symptoms of preeclampsia. So they did confirm that I didn't have it when I went into hospital the other day, which was good because they were worried as well. As soon as I started talking about my symptoms, they were like, oh, preeclampsia. And then they did not test me for the cholestasis that I thought I might have, but they are gonna send my urine and blood and all that to the lab just so I can have a little bit of peace of mind, because I know that that's dreadful and I know that it's painful and it doesn't have some great outcomes. So I did want to make sure, just to give myself a peace of mind, that everything would be okay. She is moving like crazy. So now that I'm done talking about symptoms, let me talk to you guys about the little episode that happened the other day. So when you guys see this, that would have happened like a week before, almost a week before, 5 days before. So this is what happened. So I woke up in the morning. I had been feeling off, like I had been feeling for a few days. The dizziness, the low blood pressure, all that. I was checking my blood pressure daily, multiple times a day, to see if it would spike or dip, because that was really concerning to me. So someone lent me a blood pressure cuff and I was using that, like I said, a ton of times in a day. And everything seemed to be okay. So Ryan went to work. I was unloading my dishwasher as I do every single morning. I was going to go around to put some cups inside Easton's cupboard, and his hockey stick was on the floor, and then I saw the hockey stick, went to dodge it, stepped on it, it slid right out onto my hardwood floor. I fell, smack, hit God knows what on the floor. I had a huge bruise on my knee, my hand was all busted up. I also fell like right here on my head, but I fell on my side as well. Falling in pregnancy is not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's really worrisome, especially in your third trimester. Your first trimester, your baby is still really well protected behind your pubic bone. And then as your pregnancy progresses and your baby gets stronger and bigger, there's a lot less room and a lot less protecting them. I know I still have the placenta and my uterus and the amniotic fluid and my fat and my skin and all of that, but it's still worrisome when you have an impact. So they're worried about your placenta rupturing or like detaching, about your waters breaking, about going into preterm labor, and then you could be worried about any kind of issue with you or the baby as well. So I was worried, but I was stupid. And I was like, I'm not gonna go to the hospital, I'm fine, I'm alone with Easton. Ryan was actually working out of town. I was alone, the boys were in school. So I was like, okay. So I called my mom just to let her know, and she's like, do you want me to come over? She had this huge thing at work. I'm like, nope, don't come over, I am fine. So I just got up, had some water, I started feeling a little bit disoriented. So I sat on the couch for a while. Easton was good though, he was playing with his toys right by me, reading books. I put a little bit of TV on, I'm not gonna lie, because I needed him to stay around me and close to me because I was laying down. About an hour after that, I started getting some cramping and just started feeling a little bit unwell. I then later on started feeling some Braxton Hicks contractions, some back pain, some hip pain, and those are all signs of preterm labor. So I was pretty worried about it. Like I was like, oh, what happens if I go into labor and all that? So I was trying to monitor contractions. Like I mentioned earlier, I know exactly what labor feels like. This did not feel like labor. It felt like maybe like really early labor, but I'm like, I have a ton of time. By this point, I was only 31 weeks, so I was like, you don't want to have a 31 weeker if you can avoid that. But I was like, again, my third baby, I didn't want to rush in, didn't want to worry anyone. I know that is super naive and not the question. If you have any issues or a fall, go get checked out. Everyone on Google said, go get checked out. You need to get checked out. If you fall during pregnancy, you need to get checked out. But I can't take my own advice clearly because I did not go. So I went to bed that night, still feeling the contractions, the back pain, all of that. I did not have any spotting, which is probably what kept me home. My water didn't break, I wasn't having any spotting, she was moving quite a bit, so I was really happy with that. The following day I woke up, normally I'm up a lot of the night because she moves a lot at night. The next morning I woke up and I hadn't felt her move that night. So I was like, oh God, she didn't wake me up. Like, what could be the issue? Then I started really panicking. So I went in the kitchen, ate a chocolate bar for breakfast at 6 a.m. laid back down, and she still wasn't moving. And I'm like, normally your babies will move when you eat sugar. I really started getting emotional and stressed out and nervous, and I was like, what if I cause this? And it was really emotional. So I got myself dressed and got in the car. Ryan stayed home with Easton. It was just easier that way. I got in the car, went to the hospital. There was still no movement by that point. Registered, they took me right away. At that point they did an NST. I sat there I think for an hour and a half. An NST is where they do the kick count, so you have to press a little button every time you feel the baby move. And they check your contractions, baby's heart rate for a little while, and they're also checking your blood pressure. So my blood pressure was super low. It was like 96/45. That was at my lowest, at my dip. Typically it sits around 105/60, which is still fairly low, but it's common for pregnancy. They also did blood work to see if I had preeclampsia. Sometimes it doesn't show on the cuff, but the blood work will definitely show. And then they did a urine sample to see if there was any protein in my urine. Everything came out great, positive, everything was awesome. So I was super thankful and relieved with that. And then the baby was having some D cells. They did explain to me afterwards that it's really hard to see a 31-weeker with the Doppler, like the little machine they put on your belly. They said that sometimes you don't get to see everything, or it detaches, or the baby's just too small or moves away. I wasn't having any regular contractions, nothing to be worried about, and her heart rate was pretty steady, which was good. So after I was done all that, they wanted to send me for an ultrasound just to make sure everything was fine. So I went for an ultrasound. That's where we found out her size. We found out she was doing great. Her heart rate was on average 129 beats per minute, which was super exciting. And they told me that everything was fine. They also said that her head is super low. They had to do an internal ultrasound. I know this is TMI, but they had to do an internal ultrasound because her head is so low in my pelvis that they couldn't see the size of my cervix just by using the ultrasound little machine on the outside. So they did say that my cervix measured 3.1 millimeters, I believe, which is still pretty good for almost 32 weeks. So that was really exciting. I went back upstairs, they gave me the news, and then they did tell me that I needed to up my water intake and my sodium intake for the remainder of this pregnancy. And I swell up like crazy in pregnancy, even more so when I'm eating a lot more sodium, so that's really nerve-wracking to me. The doctor's like, I never recommend that anyone ups their sodium intake. Normally I'm suggesting the other way around, but when your blood pressure is so low, it's almost the only thing, that and compression socks and drinking more water and resting, pretty much the only things you can do. So she's telling me different things. Have half a bottle of Gatorade twice a day, add some salt to your water, which is gross. Just add a little bit more salt to your food, not like table salt, but like a good proper Himalayan sea salt, something that's going to be a little bit more nutritious, I guess. I'm not a person who likes to add salt to my meals because it does make me retain water. But again, I have to do it because my blood pressure gets so low that like I nearly feel like I'm not alive anymore. Like, I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but I just feel like everything's been sucked out of me. And like I can just keel over any day. I can't walk up the stairs, I can't get up, I can't bend down. Like it's just, it's a lot. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, I know a lot of people have it a lot worse in pregnancy. This is just something that's mild, something that I need to just tweak a little bit. And I know that if I gain water weight, then it's just gonna leave after the baby's born, and that's okay. But yeah, that was my journey this week, going to the hospital and all that. So if you guys take anything away from this video, if you guys have a fall or a scare in pregnancy, or if you're worried about your baby, don't chance it. Go to the hospital. My hospital is about a 45-minute drive away, one way. It's pretty far. It took me all day. I was there for 9 hours. It was a long day. It was exhausting. I was exhausted. But it's the life of your child. Like, whether your child's born or not, it's still your child. It's your life. It's your baby's life. And how bad and guilty would you feel if you didn't just go get checked? They have these triage nurses and doctors there for you, and just go and get checked and get that peace of mind, because nothing is worse than having something tragic happen and then wonder if there was something you could have done. I know in a lot of cases there's nothing you can do, but in a case like mine, there was something I should have done, and I probably should have done it a lot sooner. and then just give myself that peace of mind. Like the nurse said, she's like, if there's nothing wrong, you go home with the peace of mind. There's something wrong, we deal with it right away. So that is my little story for you guys for this week. So I hope this video wasn't too long. I hope it did give you guys a little bit of insight on why I didn't post last week and what's been going on, why I've had a difficult time getting a schedule out. But I'm definitely hoping to be back to normal this week and next week. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.
You're my heart's desire.